Hey, welcome to episode 13 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios podcast. Today, well, let's just say that back in the Downtown Project days, there were 3 Dylans. You'd hear that many times. Well, today we are lucky enough to have the only one that matters, Dylan Bathurst. Thank you, Dylan, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Sam, for having me. I like to think I'm the original Dylan, the OG Dylan,
Absolutely.
but yeah.
Dylan, I was almost going to say Dylan number 1, but yeah. So the Downtown Project days, yes, and we've had emails back and forth about the Rumgr Story, which we'll definitely get into. There's a retrospective in flight, and someday we'll actually start making some progress, and all of this will come up today. But first things first, who is Dylan Bathurst? Please enlighten us all. Most people will never have heard of everything we're about to talk about.
Yeah, I imagine some people would know me that listen to this, but probably most people don't know me. But yeah, again, Dylan Bathurst. I was part of kind of the original Vegas tech scene. I came to Vegas in 2008 to work at Zappos as a front end developer, and I worked there for a few years. And then right around that time, like I was doing stuff in the community. I met Shavana Tierra, who I'm guessing you'll probably have on this podcast at some point because she's amazing.
Yeah.
But we met outside of the whole Vegas, outside of the whole down project kind of scene, outside of all that, like before that even started, and started doing like community events just on our own, and then that kind of spiraled into or got caught up in the whole like downtown project, the greater Vegas tech scene. So then we started things like the Jelly and Startup Weekend, which all kind of like all gets jumbled up into the whole downtown movement, I guess. And so yeah, that's kind of my quick backstory on how I got involved.
And what are you doing? Because we're going to mostly talk about back then, but what are you up to lately? What's the current Dylan situation?
Yeah, so like we'll get into, I started a company in Vegas. We got acquired by eBay, and so we ended up moving to the Bay Area and up in San Francisco. And since then, I've done a few little smaller like startup kind of things, and I kind of got bit by the crypto and Bitcoin bug pretty early on. And actually, it was like some people like Chris Shepard and Devin Egan that kind of got me involved back in Vegas days into Bitcoin and crypto. And then so I kind of pivoted my career after my time at eBay to just focus on Bitcoin and crypto. So I've been doing front end, full stack kind of development for different companies in the crypto space. Hopefully I'll start a company in the Bitcoin space someday. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm currently doing business wise. Also had 2 kids along the way. My wife Crystal, she was we met at Zappos. So yeah, we've just building our little family here, living in Los Angeles right now, and nice. Having fun.
Why, if I may ask, what brought you from San Francisco to LA?
Yeah, so probably like a lot of people, we had 2 kids. Our second kid was born in May of the pandemic, and having like a very young infant with no family support around was pretty difficult. And
Sure.
So like all the daycares were closed and everything, and my wife's her whole family's from the LA area and they're still here, so we decided to move down here to get some more family support so that we could both continue to work, and just in general kids could be around cousins that are their age and stuff like that. So decided to make that move.
That's cool. I went to school in LA, but otherwise,
Okay.
I personally have enjoyed the departure from the California scene, which I did when I moved here. And I also one, I guess final note on the reminiscing. I believe you were a fan of Bangor Brewing. Is that true? And they just closed.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I remember going back there back in the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, loved it. But there's so many more breweries now.
Oh, absolutely.
There's Able Baker. I really like Able Baker as of late. And just a bunch of different ones.
Across the street from Wise Guys, and I will remind my listeners that I have done open mic at Wise Guys 3 times now. Got some laughs. That was good.
Nice.
But yeah. Oh, there's plenty of stuff here, but it's just it is curious for people who've been around. I've been here for it'll be 10 years in August, which
Yeah.
I'm only just maybe just could pass for a local, I guess. But the yeah, some of the places that you go like, oh, I remember that place, and they're here and there shutting down, disappearing. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, the Rumgr Story.
Mhm.
That is what everybody is here for. So, first of all, from the name, of course, most people have no idea what that is. So what is Rumgr? I don't know if it's still around. It's probably not named that.
No, it's not around anymore, sadly.
Okay.
So Rumgr was a mobile application for you to buy and sell things locally to people around you. So think of it like a mobile Craigslist, which today is like duh, but back then it was kind of like, what, a mobile Craigslist? I don't get it. But like it all started when I was working at Zappos and I was living with a friend, had a bunch of stuff in his garage, and I'm being like a lazy developer, and I was going to move to a new apartment, and I didn't want to move all that extra stuff that I had, and I was like, do I really use this stuff? No, not really. Okay, maybe I'll just try and sell it. So I open up Craigslist. I'm like, gotta take pictures, move them to my computer. Then I have to deal with all the creepy people. I'm probably gonna get murdered if I use Craigslist here in Las Vegas. eBay wasn't an option because I'm sure not going to ship items to people.
Sure.
And so just started like posting to social media, like Twitter and Facebook, to sell my stuff. And I was just like, oh, that was super easy to do from their app. Just take a picture, upload it, and start selling things. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can like kind of hack on an idea. Like this doesn't really exist. Maybe I can start hacking on this kind of like mobile way to buy and sell stuff. And yeah, right around that same time, that's kind of like when I was meeting Shavana, and we was really just interested in doing the startup weekend, and we were doing jelly at that time. So it was kind of like a culmination of a lot of different things. And then I pitched the idea at that first startup weekend, mostly as a way to show people, because that was the first startup weekend and nobody knew like what the protocol was or how to do it and like how to pitch and all this kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'll just take this random idea I have. Like I have a bunch of side projects, but here's one. It's like a mobile Craigslist. And I pitched it. And people are like, oh man, that sounds cool. And then like people came up to me, they're like, oh, we want to work on that. And so we hacked on it for the weekend. And by the end of the weekend, I was like, oh man, this is bigger than I thought could be. And so just continued working on it.
And that was indeed true sometime later, which I think that's what that this is. I don't want to say that was not interesting, but the crux which everybody talks about now is, of course, you did get, I guess, acquired, right, by eBay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And well, first of all, what was that like? Like, how did they find you? Did you seek that out? Did they stumble on you or anything? And then we'll get into the mechanical components of actually being acquired. Like, what does that feel like? And moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did they find you?
Yeah, I wish I knew.
They found you quite charming, of course.
They found me poor and starving, and eating ramen noodles.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really spoken about this to. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It automatically played something in the background. You might have to edit that part out. Okay, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what was the question again?
How did eBay find you? Like, what was the process of being literally being found to be acquired, and then what was the process of actually being acquired and moving?
Yeah, so at that point we were growing a little bit in Las Vegas. We were starting to like try and grow our second city in LA, our user base for Rumgr. But like, if I knew then what I know now, I would do things totally differently. Obviously, like every first time entrepreneur thinks or does. And so at that point we were like kind of running out of our seed money, and like Alex and I were the only two there, or we had Charles too, who was our like developer. So Alex and I started like not taking pay so that we could pay our developer and pay for marketing and stuff like that. But we just like weren't really getting the explosive growth that we kind of knew we needed to make a real company out of this. And so we were like, man, what's going on? And then, yeah, kind of just like luck, like somebody from eBay reached out. And when you get an email from eBay, I don't know, you kind of think it's like spam, right? And so at first I was like, this some spam email talking about like some app, or I can't recall exactly what the email said, but it was just, I just kind of brushed it off at first. And then I was like, I thought about it a bit and I was like, well, maybe I'll go read that email again. So I pulled it back up. I Googled the person who emailed me. His name was Naresh. And I was like, oh, he's like a GM at eBay. He's actually pretty legit. And so I was like, okay, maybe this could be good for us. And so started the conversation with them. And, they were way better at like negotiating than we were. I do wish I had like more of a mentor who had been through this process before to kind of like give me the lowdown on how to sell to a bigger company. But at that time we were like pretty interested in selling, but they kind of told us like, hey, do you want to do like a partnership or yada, yada, yada. But really they just wanted to acquire us. And so we started talking. They flew out to Vegas. We met, we hung out with them, got to know them a little bit. And then, at the end of the day, I was talking to other people like Jimmy and Porter. And I was just trying to understand like what our options were, because I wanted to keep pushing Rumgr. And then at some point I just realized like, we're totally stagnating right now. We just don't have the expertise to kind of like really blow this into like a big company. And getting acquired by eBay, which is like a solid offer on the table, will totally level us up as like a team. And that will totally be a level up for us. And so I was like, it would be stupid of me not to take the deal. And so we ended up saying like, yeah, let's do it. I think it'll be big. And I know we can get into this, but like, I think it'll be a big win for Vegas tech. Although I don't think some people didn't see it that way maybe when we moved away. But yeah, I thought this is a big win for Vegas tech, a big win for Alex and Charles and me. And yeah, it was a great experience. The next 3 years working at eBay, it was a really great experience. I learned a ton, and at the end of the day, it was definitely the right choice for us at that time.
So you said you would do things differently today. So it would be about getting mentorship and somebody to actually, I've been here and done this, and so let's get the right size t-shirt kind of difference in how you would handle things, or is there anything else?
Yeah, I think just on the Rumgr side, like if I could go back and do that all over again, obviously I would do it very differently. I think one of the things is just like, if you raise money, like if I do raise money ever again, for something like that, instead of trying to make the money stretch as long as possible, which is what we did, I would try and get to like that product market fit as soon as possible, which would require spending that money. So like when we went to eBay, one of the biggest things that we did so our first market was San Diego, and we spent a good chunk of money just doing like TV and billboard ads in San Diego. And when we first started talking about that idea, I was like, this is stupid. Like young people don't look at billboards. They don't watch TV. Like, this is dumb. Why are we doing this? And then like thousands of users started piling onto our app. It was like crashing the servers, and I'm like upgrading MongoDB in the background because just all these users are coming onto our platform and posting. And I was like, man, this is like 10x like what we ever saw at Rumgr when we were doing it. And so I was like, dang, I should have bought billboards like day one, billboards around Las Vegas, and run TV ads around Las Vegas, like with that seed money that Tony gave us. And so right. That was always one big thing just about Rumgr. And then just on the other side, like getting acquired, just having like your negotiation. So like, I can't talk about exact numbers or anything like that, but like,
sure.
It was good for us. But like probably could have been better. Like maybe we could have got like a couple other companies involved and tried to do a bidding war or something like that, or ask for more, just anything like that, right? Like just having that expertise of someone to kind of help you understand your options versus we were kind of like just excited to work with eBay, and so didn't really entertain a lot of, or didn't try and be like more hard business business kind of like figure out the numbers, like try and get it to be bigger than what we did get. So just kind of expertise around that stuff, which I think that's not just our situation. That's every entrepreneur, probably every first time entrepreneurs that's in that situation could always just use help with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And so today, and I mean, you have been around so much lately, other than visiting, but there's a push towards, and this is obviously investor driven. Exits are a big thing. They're really, if you take VC money, you gotta have an exit plan. You gotta have an exit strategy. And so people talk about exits in the same breath as starting, right? And it's a very, I'm a programmer. You're a programmer. So sometimes you just think, it'd be cool if this worked. So it's not intuitive to think, in programmer parlance, you're not writing exit as your first line of code. so it's just not reflexively normal, right? You don't think, yes, we have to first plan to not be doing this anymore. But there is a lot of talk about, hyperscaling, big wins, big gains, be the next unicorn, and then exit. And so if there was a way to have more runway, do you think you would have stuck around Vegas and taken advantage of if I would call it like a home team advantage? Maybe there would have been a connection to more billboards if that had even come up, just given the nature of Downtown Project with the larger Vegas community and city. Like, has any of that ever entered the what if?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was lack of funding. I think it was lack of just us growing a sustainable business. And like by sustainable, I mean not necessarily like profitable by the end of the time, but like a business that's growing. So like we grew Las Vegas market for like 2 years, and then we started focusing on LA for like the last year of the company. But what we should have done is in the first, like, focus on Las Vegas for the first 6 months, and then focus on like 5 other cities for the next 6 months in that first year that we existed. Right. So it's like, if anything, I wish there would have been someone who would have told me that or been able to convince me that was the way to go, versus saying like, here's a bunch of money. Because like, if you're pouring a bunch of money on people who just like have no idea what they're doing, it's just going to be a lot more wasted money. So I think it's more about just me knowing how to start a good business, which is definitely like, I pinch myself all the time saying like, dang, I should have done that. I should have done this, should have done that. So yeah, when I start another company someday, I'm definitely taking a lot of these things in mind, but I don't personally see it as like a lack of funding or a lack of anything outside of just my own intelligence and my own kind of like grit to win at something. So yeah, can't blame anybody, can't blame any external factors for how we ended up.
Interesting. The access to capital is a common chant here. Mm-hmm. And in some cases that is the case. I think oftentimes, to be frank, I think it is often give me more money, and I love money. I will take more money, but give me more money in lieu of, I think we've called it like, being scrappy, being really a startup where you're like, oh, we have to get creative now. We are near the end of the available. So, and I guess one question, I guess, and I think people, I don't know what they would assume, but when you got money from VTF, right, Vegas Tech Fund, right? Mm-hmm. That's where. So was there an emphasis on exit or like no. what was the tone, I guess? What was it like being invested in and part of the Downtown Project?
Yeah. So so technically, if you want to be super technical about it, we raised from like Tony and a few other people before the Vegas Tech Fund even existed, because we were like the first company. So we were in the Vegas Tech Fund, but technically not. And so there was zero talk about an exit at that point. It was 100% because I mean, y'all know Tony. Like when Tony focused on something, it was like his number one focus. So his number one focus was like downtown, like do stuff downtown. He had already seen me doing stuff like the jelly and
Right.
startup weekend and everything. And so I think I don't know exactly, but I think it was a little bit like rewarding Dylan for like doing this stuff downtown, but also incentivizing, like hanging the carrot over me to like continue to do cool stuff downtown and build this company. And then they started talking about the Vegas Tech Fund and like doing this at scale, right? Like doing what they did with us, but at scale, getting companies to come here and like support downtown. So definitely, I think the Vegas Tech Fund in general, it is probably different than most tech funds who probably do put more of a focus on exits.
Definitely.
But yeah, they definitely had their main motivation was just like supporting downtown, and they never really strayed from that, in my opinion. And it was always pretty clear that that's what they wanted to see. But getting back to one of your earlier points of like people saying that there's like a lack of money.
Yeah.
I always
No. Well, wait. So before,
Yeah.
I'll just be very precise. Access to capital, because there is actually money here, but not access to the money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
are all kinds of reasonings for that, but in general, there are people with money who are not investing locally, and there are people with money outside of Nevada who are possibly interested. But as you know, sometimes that means relocating. So
Yeah.
access to capital is a simplification, but it's also specifically the access part. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I guess the only you're 100% correct. I guess, and I've been hearing that kind of mantra for a long time, since before Rumgr and after, and not even just in Vegas. And at this point, I'm just like, that's an excuse. Like, just to say like, oh, I can't start a company here because there's no access to capital. To be honest, I'm just like, man, it's BS. It's just an excuse. Like if you need, like if you have a successful business, you can find capital no matter where you are. And so I understand like wanting more and everything, but to me it's just kind of this bravado of people saying that. And sure, it'd be great if there was more and if it was easier to access, but first time entrepreneurs who have easy access to capital, they're going to squander it that much worse. So like
Yeah.
I think it's like, go start a good company first and the capital will come. And that's totally like that's like stuff that Tony told me back in the day. And so I'm just like a total Tony like fanatic, I guess. Like he's just so right on so many things. And so that's kind of how I think about that, like access to capital kind of phrase or mantra that I hear a lot is just, nah, that's just an excuse.
I think also, and I've talked to Tyler Williams about this. We also had a podcast, but we've had a
Yep.
few conversations in person. And now that he's retired, he can get back down to working just 24 hours a day, I guess, because he's super busy all the time. But he and I were talking about this, and I suppose the part for here, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about, but I think, and you just sort of said the same thing, the goal was not the exit, it was the present, I guess. It was establishing this little experimental downtown project community, and having people executing was more important than exiting, I guess. Does that make sense? Would you buy that?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think if I were to apply that thinking today, it's my argument against the chant of exits. I think people are looking at the goalposts, not at the field, if I can just keep using different analogies. And so like, yeah, we just want to get to the exit. Like, well, what if we just built things that work and make this a functioning entrepreneurial ecosystem that enables startups? But it's the focus, and it's understandable. It's driven by investment, and investors would like their money back, unless your investors are thinking longer term, or if they're local, or if they have literally a vested interest in seeing another type of growth other than their returns on their cash investments, right? So I think it's the access to capital question is sort of from the capital side is, well, what's in it for us? Is it just going to be an exit in 10 years or 5 years or 3 years? Because people locally, I think, are concerned. Just a word on the street is we don't know if we would get our money back. So what about just making Vegas a better place? Is that possible? And I would lean into that myself, but
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, that's investing, right? That's on the investor side. It's like,
sure,
if you want to be an investor, especially like an angel investor or VC, you don't necessarily get your money back. That's the
absolutely.
risk you play, right?
It's like 80% or worse failure.
Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of on the investor side of people being like, you should just give out loans if you really want your money back, right? Rather than be an investor.
This is true. Well, I almost wonder though, investor, is it, I don't know why I'm emphasizing the investors, yes, qualified investors, or however you want to, I understand that I will likely lose this money versus, because a lot of people will talk, a lot of people are saying, I can't give a number, but a lot of local people the discussion is there is money here, but people either don't know how or don't understand the risk and don't want to take the risk. Or I'm even hearing there's just a low confidence in possible outcomes, right? Like, Vegas is just not a place I would want to invest, even though I live here. So there's a myriad of reasons. That goes with the game. But I'm wondering, I mean, as you just said, not emphasizing exits so much is something to think about.
Yeah.
If we want to grow.
Yeah. So I've made some angel investments, and I will say, once you're on this side of it versus being on the like trying to get investment side, you do look at it a lot different of like, I'm giving this money to this person, and yeah, like if they just went to their first pitch competition last week and now I'm giving them like 10 grand or something, it's like, maybe I shouldn't invest in this company if they don't even know how to pitch their idea, right? So I mean, honestly, I think the work that you're doing with like pitch competitions, I think like the jellies and even startup weekend and stuff like that, I think those kinds of things are invaluable, of like raising the tide of all entrepreneurs in Vegas, to just be like, here's what you got to know. Like, if you do want to like make this a big company and get investment, like, here's what you got to know. You got to know how to pitch your company. You got to know how to like not just do all the things that sound like you're a good company, but actually like make a good company.
Yes.
And then you're going to be able to convince an investor to give you this money, because a lot of the times it feels like, especially with Downtown Project. So like what Downtown Project did was they tried to like jump to the end, right? They tried to just like use the money to get to like this perfect ecosystem. And like I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing, but obviously there was like negative externalities that come with that. And I think what happened, not just on the tech side, but like in a lot of places, is people came, they thought, oh, I can just go to somebody on the Downtown Project. I can just give them my idea. They'll give me money, and then they'll just like keep giving me money forever. And I don't really have to focus on making a self-sustaining company. And I think a lot of people fell into that, where it's like, and not trying to speak for anyone, but like the way I always interpreted kind of Tony's mantra was like, we'll give everyone kind of equal opportunity to get something started, but then it's up to you to make it actually successful. And if you don't make it successful on your own, like, you shouldn't expect us to like keep funding you or keep doing things for you, keep propping you up. It's like equal access versus equal outcomes kind of thing, you know? So I think that's where entrepreneurs, like even I was this way when we first started. It's just, you kind of feel like you deserve access to capital, or you have some right to it because that's the game, but it's just not that way, I think.
I totally agree. This is not like except, though I will say that some people, well, I don't know what was told to some people or what they heard, and those could be two different things. I remember hearing contemporaneously when I would talk to people in my wandering around, because I was never part of Downtown Project. I always call myself a spectator. I worked for Intel during the time, so I was traveling a lot. So when I would go downtown, I would say hello and see what's going on. And I heard from different people at different times. I thought I was going to get more mentoring, or I thought there'd be more help finding customers, or I thought there'd be those are probably the two big ones. Just access, not to capital so much, but access to mentoring resources like advice. Mentoring is one thing, but just advice or assistance doing certain things that they were just not ready to do. I think starting a company is something you like, oh, cool. And then when you do it, you're like, oh, this is harder than it looks. I thought somebody was going to help me. I was told there'd be cake. Yeah. So I think
I said that exact same thing too. I was like,
sure.
Oh, when Tony became my investor, I thought he was just going to be my, like, I could just go get drinks or go out to dinner with Tony whenever I felt like it. And he would just tell me this wisdom that, like, everyone that is his level, like, just knows, and he would impart all of that onto me. And it was just like, oh, dang, it's not that way. Like, I got to go figure this stuff out for myself. So I hit the books, and, like, you just got to Google and learn and talk to people and seek out that mentorship, and with the understanding that, like, yeah, Tony's a busy guy. He is not going to just, like, give you all the time you ever want. And so, yeah, I learned that too.
Sure. Now, so in the general, so now we're kind of onto the downtown project in general, because I am curious, and we're doing this retrospective, and okay, first of all, let me interrupt myself a few more times. Did you happen to flip through the recent report that we did Mo Collins and I did a podcast a couple of episodes ago? There was a report on the Nevada economy, the entrepreneurial ecosystems, Reno, Southern Nevada, whole state, some of the rural areas in between there. I don't know if you happen to read that, but there. It
was like 1,000 pages, so no,
it was 101.
Oh, okay.
But it felt like 1,000, yeah. But what was missing, in my opinion, was she compared, and I'm not like ripping the report or her, but I think it's interesting that there's a rush to compare today with other cities today, which is always tricky. Anybody who's ever tried to merge changes on a source tree is like, you just can't apply everything at the end there. So you have to be careful about what you're comparing and how. Hey, different starting points. We are not Silicon Valley. That was a different thing. But so you can't really go, let's just be Silicon Valley today. There's 50 or 70, 75 years of history there, right? You don't just tack it on the end. So in her report, she compares similar size, different properties of different cities. Mm-hmm. And I was like, did you spend time looking at the downtown project? Because to me, that is same city, same real estate, same, square miles, a lot of same things that you could compare 10 years ago versus today. And that's one of the reasons I want to do the retrospective, is to see just in the locality, what can we learn? What were the high points, the low points? What can we take from that? What can we avoid? And so there will be much more to this, but I'm curious to know, looking back from today, what do you think of the downtown project? High level, would you do it again?
I mean, in my opinion, it was overwhelming success. Like, if whenever I go back to Vegas, so I go back to Vegas maybe like once every few months now, just to see like the blast radius of what the downtown projects did, to see like the arts district now, and just what downtown is like all around it. I'm just like completely blown away. And I think you and Tyler talked about this during that episode, but I remember when I first started at Zappos in 2008, we would like going downtown to Fremont East, which it wasn't called Fremont East at the time. It was just not Fremont Street, basically.
Right.
It was like super seedy, right? Like we would go to the Griffin and we'd go to the Beauty Bar, and those are the only two like bars for locals that were in the city, basically. That's not totally true, but like those are the two like cool hip bars that we could go to. And we used to go and park at the El Cortez and we would like run to the Griffin or run to the beauty bar, so that we wouldn't get stabbed on the way in. And then we'd like drink and have fun and like hang out all night, and then we'd run back to our cars at Dale Cortez. And it was just like that's what our life was like for the first few years, living in Las Vegas. And so to go down there now, with that context, I'm just like, man, this is so cool. Like going to Soul Belly Barbecue, going to like Abel Baker Brewery, like all these different places that are there now. It's just like so awesome. And so yeah, like I think it was a huge success. Yes, there were negative externalities or like negative things that kind of came out of it because of the speed, because of just like maybe not everybody was like in it for the greater community. Maybe some people were like in it for themselves and stuff like that. But in general, I thought it was awesome. Still do.
Yeah. So if I'll be the devil's advocate, I suppose. So you've described the the parts that the casual person, if you're walking down the street, you do see Abel Baker, you do see Soul Belly, you see Wise Guys Comedy Club, which I hope to be at next Wednesday. Sorry. That's irrelevant. This is a podcast. Next Wednesday it could be anytime.
Shameless plug.
Oh, absolutely shameless. So, but there's a ton of things, arguably, and I've had this conversation with actual artists. I don't know why they hang out with me sometimes, but their concern is that they've been priced out of the arts district. They're like, I can't even afford to be here anymore. So they've moved south to other places. So the arts district is sort of not quite capital G gentrified, but it's more trendy, a little bit more expensive. I am not an artist. I have not attempted to conduct my art down there, but the comment has been made. But you've described what a person would see walking down the street. What if you were a startup creating a tech company or doing any of the things that other founders and entrepreneurs in the Downtown Project timeframe were doing? Were those successful? Was the environment like what? We're going to get into this a lot in the retrospective project. But I'm curious to know just your high level. You would do it again. It was an awesome success. But as far as if you were an entrepreneur coming here, not starting retail, not starting hospitality, restaurant, what do you think of that part? Because they're really pushing that today. So that's why I really want to kind of ponder that. But I'm not putting you on the spot. Just an opinion. Well, they really want this to be a tech centric. I won't say the next certain Bay Area thing, but some people have. And I'm like, let's just be a better Las Vegas. Tech should be a part of it, but not the focus. But that's my opinion. But if you were going to do if you're going to do what you did today, would you say, we got to do that part differently, or just that's kind of what I'm going to hope for from our retrospective is what can we do better to enable?
Yeah, I mean, you can't master plan it, right? Like that's
sure.
that won't work, right? So if I were to start Rumgr again today, like, I mean, we already kind of touched on the things that I think I would do differently.
Sure.
But I don't like what I wouldn't do differently is like get up and move to San Francisco right away. One of our big competitors was like the Darling, like you won't even have heard of them or even remember them, but they were called like Yard Sale or something. They were like the darling of the mission of like what we were building in San Francisco. And fun fact, I don't know if I've ever told anyone this before, but like Tony introduced us to Kevin Rose, and you might do you know who Kevin Rose is?
Milk.
Yeah. So Kevin introduced us to or Tony introduced us to Kevin in his Ogden apartment one time, and we got to pitch him, and I pitched him, and he was like, yeah, okay, but have you heard of Yard Sale? And we're like, yeah, I know. We're there are competitors. We're gonna beat them because of X, Y, and Z. And he was just like he ended up passing on us. And the sentiment that I got from him was that like, no, they're a San Francisco company, so they're just better quality than you. And then they tried to pivot, and they had the same troubles we did. They tried to pivot, they weren't successful, and they ended up closing up shop. And then we got acquired by eBay. So at the end of the day, like, people have this opinion of like you can't do something or something, but it's just all about grit, man, and like it really just takes it. So kind of getting back to your original question of like should Vegas companies focus on hospitality or entertainment? Yeah, some of them should.
No. Well, no. To be fair to me, but no, the real question. And so I'll rephrase the question just from what you said, which is good. So I'm glad we are here now. What would you do differently to enable? You're not Dylan. You're somebody else. So what would you do to enable Dylan and Rumgr if you had it to do over again? In other words, we know what you would do differently, but what do you think was missing, or what could have been? Because now you're looking at enabling others, not master planning, but like what could enable, and this is what we want to learn. So this is sort of the tack I want to take with our retrospective is what can we take that worked, and what can we avoid that did, kind of thing.
Yeah. So if I wasn't Dylan, so I've actually like not announcing anything right now, and I'm not promising to ever announce anything, but some of the ideas that I've had over the years is like, now that I like had a successful outcome, I would love to come back and like not teach, but be like, do kind of that like incubator style with Vegas companies, and just provide more of the like the Y Combinator or Techstars kind of thing for local companies. But I do really like what you said earlier, is like, let's just make it a better Vegas. I think there's a lot of things other than saying like you should be in this industry or that industry. I think there's some really cool things you could do to like make a company a Vegas company. Like one of the ideas was like, what if instead of a demo day for like, so we do this incubator, what if instead of a demo day where you pitch investors, like at the end of this incubator, you launch your company to Vegas. Like so if you want to get into this incubator, your company has to be something that like would be attractive to people in Vegas, and maybe you partner with Life is Beautiful or something, right? Where you launch on stage and you get like press coverage, and the value that this incubator provides is getting you to your first 10,000 users onto your platform or something like that. Like that's something I've always been like, man, somebody should do something like that in Vegas to like make it this Vegas specific thing that's different than what you see in Silicon Valley or typical other places. But just that kind of like innovative thinking, I think, is what I would try and provide to. And it's kind of to the next one.
There's I'm totally spacing on the name, but it's near Ferguson's. You know where that is. It's somewhere at the tip of my tongue, but it's a restaurant. It's sort of like a pop-up restaurant. So you basically try concepts there. And it's interesting that what you described sort of is available in, pop-up restaurants, or you can get a food truck and try out your idea and figure out where your locations are before you actually open a brick and mortar restaurant. So there are these sort of prototype paths for service industry / hospitality. You can't wait. Well, you can have a pop-up hotel, I guess. It's camping. But there are ways to try things, but I think there's, for better or worse, our industry, the tech, especially hardware. Software, you can do, the minimal investment. If you start building things, that's non-trivial. So it's tricky to, but I like your idea. I mean, there should be something about Vegas that's a little, and I always say, like, there's 40 million people coming here every year. There's got to be a way to engage with them.
Yeah, totally.
And I actually had I don't know if you probably didn't know this, but I met at the LVGEA, which was the wrong place. I really should have gone to the LVCVA at the time to start this conversation, but I went with Alan Goya, who's still around somewhere. Nice. So he and I went to the LVGEA, and we talked about, because I'm only here sometimes. I work at Intel and I'm traveling. But I said, how are you going to get all this startup action connected to all these people coming to town? Because there should be an opportunity for them to say, oh, look, what's going on over there? Like, what are people working on? So inbound marketing, or however you want to look at it. So today we are talking about how to better engage with the massive influx of people that come here. Surely some number of people are interested in something other than the sphere and whether the A's are going to bail, right?
Yeah. Hey, a billboard. You could do it as easily as a billboard, right? Like, sure. Which we all like. Again, I'm the first one to be like, "Ew, billboard," but man, it worked.
Well, especially now with traffic, you spend 20 minutes looking at the same billboard, so it's burned into your retinas. Well, Dave Berlin, who was not around when you were, I don't know if you've ever heard his name. He's extremely busy. He's very active with like bunker labs and just veterans in general, veterans activities and organizations here. Former Marine, Semper Fi, David Berlin, and he is running yet again for this for in November again, Global Entrepreneur Week. So he said last year I was able to get some free billboards at the end there just to help get the word out. And for the first time, it was a global event, but the Vegas edition, got a lot of attention. So he was able to make that work. So I think go where your customers are, as they say. Some of them are working at billboards.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but he says it almost like you did. Like, I got free billboards and, go for it. And so, yeah, why not? Yeah, well, especially because here, and I was curious about that because if you had stuck around, I almost wonder if there would have been like, come to Vegas. Well, we're already here. Let's help our local startups and economy. And actually, I have a question about that. So do you have any comment on what I just said? Because I'm going to pivot slightly. So do you think the downtown project was overly insular with regard to other parts of Vegas, especially UNLV, etc.?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on this because like I've listened to some of your podcasts and I've heard kind of like different sentiments about that. The thing that like I don't want to sound like which means I'm probably going to sound bad, but like I don't want this to sound like I'm knocking anyone. But I think you have to focus, and I think their focus was like once you start working with government, like economic development, like entities or school entities, I think you start to compromise a lot in order to get this like behemoth support. Like you really start to compromise on your vision, and you really start to compromise on what you can and can't do when you start dealing with these like government kind of things. So while I'm not trying to like, I don't think anyone has bad intentions. I think once you start to rely on these like entities like government and schools, it just kind of, I don't know, it never really materializes at the pace you want it to. You just want to move fast as a startup and not have a lot of things tying you down. And if you're relying on school for engineers or government for money, like I just think it really ties entrepreneurs down. And so I think Downtown Project felt that way. And so I think they were like, you know what, if they want to participate in what we're building here, happy to have them, but we're not gonna like make it a big focus for us to have some like outreach to them and start working with them, because we think it'll just take away the focus or maybe tie us down a little bit from what we're trying to do. Again, not putting words in anybody's mouth. That's just my take on the situation.
Yeah, so my own looking back at the time, I was not around enough, so I'd only hear different anecdotes from different people. But looking back and then looking, especially comparing what I had seen back then to what's going on now, there's more of a concerted effort on the city of Las Vegas and the county side. Downtown Project is in the city of Las Vegas proper. There's all of UNLV is not. So there are actual boundaries of governing and funding and all that. But I've found there's a little bit more pro-action, but also at the same time. And I've talked to a few people, not in podcasts, about the fact that business development offices in general around the country, not just here, are not entrepreneurs. Developing business and getting people to move business and have more business in a city is not the same as developing an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So there's kind of a mismatch there. So that's probably reasonable, right? Like you have different goals than us. We should work together, but not depend on each other. That's reasonable. The school, did I tell you? I'm sure I've mentioned it on some episode or two, and I don't know if you ever knew this. The clinic project that I got going with UNLV.
I heard you talking about it, but I don't fully know the scope of it.
All right, so I'll try to be brief. So when I went to Harvey Mudd College in Southern California, somewhere Claremont, near, I don't know if that's near where you are, and they had a clinic program. It was industry sponsored projects. It's still in existence today. It's been going on for decades, and So you basically have, in my case, it was for both year, my junior and senior years, 4 engineering students. They've expanded it to cross-disciplinary chemistry, physics, bio, whatever, in the in more recent decades. And a company would come and give several $1,000s to the university, several tens of thousands actually, to the college, and you'd work on a project. And that was, so you're hiring little student consultancies. So when I heard from people here at a launch party at Hyde Bellagio, it was a influencer with a CR at the end, influencer, no E. They were launching at Hyde Bellagio, and I was talking to some people there, and they said, "Hey, you're from Silicon Valley. Where do we go to hire people? There's only founders here. There's no talent." Now, that's obviously not completely true, but point taken. So I had a chat with Rama Venkat at UNLV, and he said, "I know what the clinic program is. I think we could do that here." Took a long time, and there were several people, Zach Miles, Rama, Shavana was actually there for some of the discussions. I got some people from my college, and we established something like a clinic program at a public university. It's a little bit trickier about resources and who pays for what and all that. But we did get it going. And it kind of flopped just because they didn't know quite what to do with it. But the take home was, during these discussions, they said, we've tried to work with the Downtown Project and they don't seem interested. So then the question's becoming, do we know what to do? Do we even know what questions to ask? And that might have been one of the problems, because I don't think they did. Not on the university side. And they've grown up a lot since then, so kudos to them. They've actually come quite a long way. So today, I think it would be very different. So
yeah, I can see it being.
Go ahead.
I could see it being different today, now that like Downtown Project or like what downtown has become is really like become like an institution within Las Vegas. But just like any startup, I think at the beginning, you like if I were Downtown Projects and UNLV was like reaching out and they wanted to set up like some program that would take a bunch of resources that would like and do all this kind of stuff, I'd be like, no, I'm okay. Like, I'm actually okay with if students hear about downtown and come out here, like the students that show up out down here, those will be the ones that are actually like really want to be involved and get involved. Those are the people I want to like start talking to, versus like some student who's just like getting some credits for being in this like downtown connection program or whatever. It's just not as organic, it's like kind of forced or contrived or something. And so I almost bet you money that's like what the sentiment was for that. But at this point, like, I think it's cool that people like you and other people from the community kind of like create this, like Shavana, just like she did with like Startup Weekend, right? Is like helping people kind of make those connections, but in a, I don't know, decentralized way, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
it's more organic.
On the university side, I don't think they knew what to do either at the time. And so I think it was people who would have liked to see the other be successful, but didn't know quite what to do that, maybe. I'm also not putting words in people's mouth, but I will say today I'm kind of optimistic. Just 2 months ago, we had a presentation about SBIR funding, which we don't have to delve into that too much, but it's got federal money that's available to pay for startups, to pay students to work on projects. So suddenly you have access to workforce that could then become interested in what you're doing, and you have the resources are not coming from you, right? So there's phase 1, there's phase 2. We're talking non-trivial amounts of money. So I said to Zach Miles, who has returned to UNLV, so they're getting the band back together. I said, this would have made a huge difference when we got and he's like, oh, totally. This would have been night and day, because now you're not going to startups saying, okay, do you want to pay students for credits? It's you have federal funds available to help you with your startup, and we have talent that can help you do that. How about if we collaborate on this? So it's not organic people, kind of wandering downtown, but it is a path to developing a talent pool, and that talent pool becomes interested and is a part of the local innovation talent pool. Whereas now you might see, and I heard this from people back then, I'm going to go to another place to get jobs and whatnot. I would say, why don't you stay here? And they said, you just go somewhere else. The jobs are elsewhere. So there wasn't a sense of like I want to stay here. So it's multiple moving parts and views and opinions and job markets and all that. But I think there are more options today, which will be interesting to see what fits together.
Yeah, I think just for me, it's like the strings attached to taking money from the federal government and getting someone to work on my company who's there as part of a program and not because they're passionate about my idea. As an entrepreneur, I would probably run screaming from something like that. Because and I guess maybe that's the thing is like how can you like convince me that there are no strings attached? Do I just get a check from the government and I don't ever have to pay it back, or I don't have to fill out any forms or anything like that? Like if that's
forms.
true, then sweet.
Yeah. There are forms. It's not an equity investment. It's pure grant. So you have nothing to pay back. No. Phase 3 of an SBIR grant would include government being a customer. So they would actually use your products. But phase 1 and phase 2 are about phase 1's prototype. Phase 2 is sort of early development of actual like building things. If you're building things. So it is quite useful. But the thing is, it's not the way. But the problem that I was solving was not organic growth. It was quite literally the question was posed: where do we hire people? So one answer is, well, there's a whole university down the street. Have you even talked to them? And the question was, oh, not really. So I understand what you're saying, but I think everybody would have a different scenario, and so options I think would be good. And I think today there are far more, and I think there'd be more avenues to not enter into agreements that are onerous, and also more options that you could stay on your own, right? So I think that's the key, is to be able to have options and not feel like you're forced into one or the other, and then like, oh, I got to give my company away, or now they're forcing me to exit. So I can see what you're saying. Some flexibility. I mean, that's what I always tell when people get into the restaurant business. My family did this. Like, we want to be our own boss. And you're like, oh no, a new boss walks in the door every time you hear that bell ring. So entrepreneurialism does have this sort of optimistic view that you're gonna be in charge. Not always the case.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So I think the retrospective. If we're coming up on, I think you have it's 1:00 as we've been talking. We're coming up on an hour. I know you have to go soon, not immediately, but
yes. Yeah.
I would like everybody to have some nice time on a Friday, which this is. So we're going to do this retrospective. Do you see the value in it? Like, do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, for sure. I think you had originally said, like someone said, don't look back, just look forward. And yeah. I don't disagree like with that sentiment, but they probably had the wrong context. But I think for this, I think it's like really good to do a retrospective, and get a lot of different opinions, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that'll probably the squeaky wheel gets the grease in a lot of situations. But I appreciate you for reaching out to people like me and others to get kind of like maybe a different opinion, because I think there's a lot of context we could provide that you might not get from some of the other squeaky wheels. So I think it's a really good thing that you're doing.
I hope so. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope you'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends each, and so on and so on. Yeah. That's a Suave commercial, which no one will remember. Is it Suave? I can't remember. But anyway, so I think the value is that we're here, right? Like, I can see if it was a retrospective on some other place, like, oh, history's boring, man. But it's actually here, right? It's not like we're not talking about Reno even. It's here, where we are walking on the same street that was very different 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah. And I think there's an impression about some things, and I think if we actually look at it, and I always say we want to know what worked and what didn't, and what can we make sure we do that did work, and make sure we avoid that didn't, right? Because why make the same mistakes if there were? Yeah. I tell you, for example, the Tech Alley was inspired by Josh Levitt he talks to him all the time, Rick Duggan, and he consulted with Rick. 2 years. They just had their second anniversary of Tech Alley. He said, "Yeah, I talked to Rick a couple years ago," and I said, I feel like this is a thing." And he said, "Well, look at how the jellies worked," and looked at it. So he did take all this into account, and they made an arrangement that works so far. I personally would like to see smaller, a little bit more focused, or more, you could say targeted, but something where you get a tangible outcome. Otherwise, it turns into socializing, which is not bad. But I would like to see more people. I make connections at Tech Alley that are really useful, and sometimes it's like, oh, I'll never hear from that person again. I would like to somehow bias the results more towards, wow, I'm really glad I had this conversation, which they do happen. And so we need to find a way to encourage real connection, because those are where you start to be excited about progress and ideas. And if this is going to be an innovation hub, I think we should try to make it that and not a social occasion, which is very easy.
Yeah. And maybe both is good, right? Like both.
Oh, sure. I'm not anti-socializing, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think Vegas is ready for that. Like you can have multiple events, and I think so. Like when we first started the Jelly, it was like there was like 9 of us or something that were just brought our laptops to the beat, and we were just like hacking on stuff and just talking, and like I was so blown away by how fast the news of that spread throughout Las Vegas, because we were like our idea for Vegas Jelly was like, hey, I bet there's a bunch of people just working from home, like contractors, but like designers and developers, all spread out through Vegas. What if there was one event downtown where we could like kind of give those people time to come in and just like, hang out with other tech people? And I was like blown away at how fast that happened, like how fast the news spread and how fast it happened. And I think the Jelly was like the exact thing that Vegas needed at the time, or like the Vegas tech scene needed at that time. Right. And so I think, it was just like totally kind of like luck, or just a culmination of different things kind of like happening at the same time, is why that was so successful. And it's like, I love that the Tech Alley, I've heard like really good things about it from a bunch of people, and it's just like, I think it is more like a social event, but it's like, it's kind of in that same spirit of like Vegas Jelly. And that's definitely like what needs to happen. But people like you're like, okay, I've done the Vegas Jelly 10 years ago. I'm doing this Tech Alley thing. I want something a little bit more focused. And I think that's the perfect kind of thing, is like, just because you're wanting that, because you've gone to it, you've experienced it, but you're like, I want something more. And then you go start that thing, and it's like, oh, okay, I bet a lot of other people wanted that too, because there's this critical mass at the Tech Alley. Now it's time to like, not steal from that, but like also kind of like do something slightly different than that, because now there's this whole critical mass of people that are already ready to do interesting stuff, and I bet they feel the same way you do. So that's why your other events have been successful, I think.
True. Maybe. I think we did a podcast this morning with Josh and myself, Josh Levitt. So by way of example, I mentioned January. So he has Tech Alley, and I was having these bootstrapper breakfasts, which I do every first Tuesday of every month at Vesta Coffee, which is. Have you been? You've probably been there since you've returned.
That's my go-to downtown coffee.
Yeah. So Tyler the roaster, I've known him for years. So we go there first Tuesday. So January 4th, Josh Levitt came by. I had only met him a month or two before, so he's like, yeah, check this out, see what's up. He has no time for such things now. The guy's super connected, and everybody takes advantage of that. But he came by, and I said, I have this idea. I think we need a way for people to start pitches so that they get feedback, but not on a stage, like a little bit more informal. And I said, I've done open mic. I had done it at the Dive years before. It's not good, but it was just like the name says. But I was like, just get up, and you're not there to, like, your pitch can suck, but you're talking, you're getting it, and you're getting feedback, and not, no booing. The only rule is don't be mean. That's literally the only rule.
Yeah.
So be constructive. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I thought he meant February, and he's like, no, let's do it this month. So 11 days later, we had a room full of people. We had 5-6 pitches. we had real feedback, and one company started and launched their product in July, right? So when you have that environment where you're like, well, yeah, let's just try it, let's see what happens. There are a lot of people here that will say somebody should do. This is my little trope. Sorry, you've heard this before, people listening. Somebody should do that. And I'm like, well, why don't you do that? And they're like, oh, I don't have time. So that's how a lot of things that I'm doing end up like, instead of saying somebody should start talk. So today we talked about the next thing, which is talks.vegas. So it is our YouTube channel with talks, D-O-T Vegas, which has nothing on it right now. Don't say anything yet. And the domain talks.vegas. And it is literally telling the world stories about Vegas, people in Vegas, to educate, entertain, and inform. Don't pitch, don't sell. But there's got to be something other than the A's and the Sphere, like I said earlier, to talk about. So how did you get to downtown? What is your story behind your startup? Don't talk about your startup and your business model. Talk about, why did you get into making specialty coffees or whatever, right? How do you make a good espresso with your, things like this? And we'll do the 10-minute or maybe the 5-minute. I did try to get Ignite Vegas going again, and they have some weird inclusivity policies that I didn't like when it came to people with special needs. Yeah. And as well, I would like to get, so do you know the origin of the Cafe Genius name?
Yeah, I heard you discuss it. It's like from the Twitter park in San Francisco.
Cafe Centro, yeah. So I've told people there needs to be something like Cafe Centro. So you've just described why, like the beat at that time was that. It was a place you could go and you'd run into people also in a similar sort of, I got ideas and I'm working on them. So we just need to have more of that. What I have noticed sort of anecdotally is people in coffee shops now, even Vesta, they'll be by the window with the earbuds in, and they're kind of in their own little thing, doing their thing. So I don't see people kind of nerding out, if you will. It's a lot of one, individual, and I'm not complaining, but like just an environment of sizzling kind of ideas and stuff. So we'll see if we can get there again.
Yeah, I think I would love to see that in Las Vegas. I think after we kind of moved from the beat to work in progress, it kind of like that happened at work in progress a lot too. But yeah, that kind of fizzled out too. So yeah, I think it just needs just something for people to get together, whether it's a social event or just like a hackathon or something like that.
We have hackathons every month. We have one this weekend. The weekend after Tech Alley, every month. Innovate for Vegas has a free at the Innovation Center, and attendance is anywhere from me to maybe 2 or 3. We've had as many as 15. Right now, I have. I'm going to try to turn in something on the 31st. I have some ideas that I got to sort of. I obviously won't be building anything, but for solar powered clothing, and I want to make a cooling garment, or at least design one for people that are homeless. So I had a podcast with the person driving that, Dr. Jung in Frankfurt. So I was awake at 3 a.m. having a fascinating conversation with a PhD physicist about the future of wearable technologies. That was fun. It was. I'm not kidding. But it's a question of people kind of jumping on. By the way, we're also doing the Global Space Apps Hackathon in October. I'm the lead for the Team Las Vegas. So
nice.
The platform is in place. We just need people to jump up and down on it and make sure it's not going to collapse.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going, come on, guys, jump on. And, so we'll see. I mean, I always tell people I'm playing an infinite game. We have a nonprofit public charity. I did the paperwork, paid the fees. We're here, and we're not going anywhere. We have the support of some people like Don Jacobson. We have a space to do hackathons in whenever we want. So slowly but surely, we are not a software company. We don't have release dates. I'm not going to run out of money. So we'll be here whenever people are ready to start hacking. So if we have that, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, that's what I was just going to say, like, it's you're doing like a startup, right? Like you're trying to find the wave to ride, and that's what we had with the jelly. Like we didn't have to convince people to come out. It was like we weren't pushing the rock up the hill. We were chasing the rock down the hill,
Yeah.
because it was just so much momentum, and I think you got to kind of like keep chasing that, right? Like you can't you give like all the access to stuff and everything, and then like nobody shows up, and it's just like, well, dang, like how do we find that next thing that will bring people out? What they'll kind of like pull this out of us versus us trying to be like, hey, come to this hackathon or come to this pitch night or come to this thing. It's like, how do you find the thing that people will really just like get behind and be interested in? And I don't know, that's the hard part, right? Like of any company, of any movement, of anything, it's like, how do you like kickstart it so that it's becomes a powerful thing?
Sure. And I will tell you, for better or worse, the formula I have arrived at after, we legally formed as a nonprofit next month, a year ago. Our first hackathon was either February or March. I can't tell you right now, but so we're a little over a year old of doing this. I say any movie goer will know, show don't tell. So
Yeah.
I can describe to people all day, but I need to launch something and I know what it's going to be because I'm working on it. But it needs to be an army of one. And I've talked to Sean Looker about this. We are in total agreement, unfortunately, because Sean Looker was with Ryan Quinn, I believe his name was. We're co-founders and co-captains of the original Code for Vegas. So Sean is on our board and we're adding another board member who was very, very well known in the Code for America camp, but she's also a very rational person. That's a longer story. We're going to do a podcast with the three of us. So she's joining our board specifically to grow participation. She is actually part of 2 brigades, but then the Code for America organization pulled support for brigades. So that's the quick exposition. But we need to show people why they would want to, like, why do I want to work for free?
Yeah.
And I always say, I don't want you to work for free, but I want you to be willing to work for free. Because we actually have a value for value model, we have a complete 100% transparency of attribution. So if you do work, you're always going to get credit for it. Not true with Code for America, unfortunately. So yeah, there's all kinds of things that I want to enable, but I need people to be on the team. Before, I can't say, hey, I'll get you a job. It's more like, hey, you showed up. Now let's talk about how we can make that into something. So we need to show and not tell. And I think that's true of a lot of things here. It's certainly true of some of the city folk I've talked to about our efforts. Like, well, show me something better than what we have now, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
And it's very cynical, but it's the game we're playing.
Do you think you could do anything like the Downtown Project did with the speaker series, where you bring in people from out of town, or not bring them in, but like honestly just siphon off of the people that are visiting, and just be like, hey, do you want to come give a talk down at this like thing, and just maybe like inspirational kind of like talks to get people a little bit more like amped up about something, and then kind of like feed them into like one of these other really like good events that you're putting on?
Well, first of all, I'm going to assume you were there. I always link to, and luckily it's online in its entirety, the Bambi Francisco presentation, which was very early when I had just moved here.
Yeah,
I don't know if you were at that one. It was about smart cities, and she was doing all the stuff in Oakland. It was a really interesting talk. And so I refer to that all the time. And I agree, it would be interesting. I will not, however, go into detail while we're recording, but I will after, assuming we have time. But I will simply say the Bring Your Own Water project is probably aligned with what you're saying, and I will save that for the after show kibitz. But so your point, I agree, and we should be taking advantage of a lot of the Better Vegas part. Is literally let's take advantage of what is already here and not try to be something else. And if people continue, I say, okay, do you think Silicon Valley will be a Las Vegas? Are they going to be the next Vegas? And they're like, no. I said, well, why are you so sure of that? So we should be better at what we are and not wish we were something else, I think. In these modern times, that's not a hard argument. I don't know why people are not buying it, but so Bring Your Own Water. I'll tell you about that shortly. But
okay. I think that's something that Vegas that is uniquely Vegas is that people, like very cool people, come to Vegas a lot, and they come.
Absolutely.
And if there was some way for them to come and like be more engaged, like for example, the first startup weekend, Shivana and I are like, oh, when should we do this first startup weekend? Like, when would be a good date? And I was like, you know what? Future of Web Apps is coming up soon. And Kevin Rose is speaking there. The guy from Bank Simple, which no longer exists, but he was like big fancy guy back in the day. Tom Anderson, everybody's first friend on MySpace. Then like they were all coming into town to speak at that conference. And so I hustled and I got Tony to introduce me to them because he was also speaking there. And I was just like, hey, right before Future Web Apps Conference, we're doing this startup weekend. Would you guys be willing to judge? And they're like, yeah, sure, we're here. Might as well like do this. And Tony's like, they know Tony, so they're like, did it. And then we had this like star-studded cast of like the biggest names, like some of the biggest names in tech back then, to be there. And I think it's like things like that, like totally gave us like this like shot us into orbit on in terms of that. Like we could have just had this event and just had like some local predominant like doctors or lawyers or somebody be the judge, somebody like local fancy people, and it would have just not had the kind of like star power that we ended up getting with it. And like I'm guessing a lot of people don't even remember that, but that's what tipped us over. That's what got the news cameras to come downtown
Sure.
and shoot this all over Vegas. So it's like a little bit of that I think goes a long way in terms of getting people pumped and like wanting to be a part of that kind of experience.
So speaking of insular communities, we have Marky Mark. Haha, I think he doesn't like that, but Mark Wahlberg and Hollywood 2.0 maybe. We have Mark and Andreessen and Horowitz have residences here. If they actually live here, it's another question. There are more people that are a little bit more under the radar. There's some, every once in a while somebody will mention, the guy who founded this or the woman who founded that, and they're coming to Vegas, but I don't think they're coming here to get on the radar. I think they're coming here to lay low a little bit, enjoy the desert, dry heat. So connecting with those people is tricky. And of course, you mentioned what the bridge was Tony Hsieh, right? If he could call up Andreessen and Horowitz and say, do you want to be judges at an event? They'd be like, oh yeah, sure. If I call them, there'll be, and despite the fact that I worked at Netscape when Mark Andreessen was Marka, I worked in Eric Bina's group. I worked with all of the people that were in the founding, who am I, right? So we need to have people that are willing to build these bridges and to get across these insular communities. I don't use insular to mean isolated. That's very different. But it's like people don't know that there's someone else just over there that like, oh man, if we talked, we could actually do some cool stuff. They just don't talk for no good reason other than just don't. Yeah. So that is one of our little. Do you remember Noelle Hurst?
Name does sound familiar.
She's working at Codingscape right now, but she's been around for a while. So she and I have talked about. I called it the communities plural summit to try to get people who are in insular communities to meet each other. Oh, I'm working on the same thing. That's kind of in the wind. We'll see if it goes anywhere. But yeah, we're trying to get people to actually realize that 5 people are doing the same thing and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's another idea that I've wanted someone like you to work on, because I think it has to be someone local. But again, I think from some people that I've talked to, like Rumgr getting acquired by eBay, and then like in some people's eyes just like piecing out of town, they see that as a bad thing. But I'm like, I think maybe Vegas could like celebrate their wins a little bit more. In the way to do that is like have this kind of like, hey, you had a company here, you moved out, like whenever you come back you have a free spot to to talk at this thing, or we'll do this event when you like, and not just for me, but like keep the lines of communication like actively open between people that were in Vegas but then they left for whatever reason.
Sure.
And I think something like that could snowball into like, because like Kevin Rose, he's from Las Vegas, so he comes back there to visit his mom and his dad probably. So that's like why he used to come back in the day. is because he was from there, and so he would come hang out. I met him a couple of times because he was just like back in town for whatever. And so I think you're right. Like there's a lot of cool people that come to Las Vegas a lot, and if you could, I know we don't have the Tony Hsieh kind of like power amplifier anymore, but I think it could still be done where if you're like you or someone locally kind of just becomes that person of like, oh, if you need a connection downtown, like Dan's your man, and then that will kind of like snowball. Like honestly, like what you're doing with Cafe Genius and this stuff, I think this could be the Kickstarter for Dan to become the man, like the downtown connector man, right? So
I would be competing with celebrity Jamie Schwartz. She is the woman. Yeah. Find me and I will ask you do you know Jamie Schwartz? That's a little inside joke. I don't know if she's listening, but okay. No, Jamie's kind of a rock star. There are more than just one person. So luckily, and
right.
There are several people that are taking really proactive and sincere efforts, and maybe I'm one of them. I hope so. I think I'm working together because no one person can cover everything. I think if there's one take home from Downtown Project is maybe you can't hang everything on one person, right?
Yeah, maybe, but you kind of need that. You kind of need like that one person where you're like, this is the person I go to, not a committee. You don't want like, well, this is the person I go to for this is the person I go to for that. It's like, no, downtown was Tony. Tony was downtown. And like, I think maybe like, no, I think that was like a total win. That it was like downtown was Tony, and it got really big, and then that all kind of ended. But I think there's still opportunity for someone to be like the tech person. Like Dan is downtown tech or Vegas tech.
All right, like, I'll take it. I'm it. I have been. If Dylan OG says so, it's what it is. Yeah. I've been what do you call it? Knighted, I guess.
Yeah.
But the coronation has just taken place. The real one, not that one back in England. Screw that.
Well, it's like you're putting in the most effort out of people to like get people together and do these kinds of things, but also get the word out with your podcast and stuff like that. And so it's like, well, who better then? Like, I guess you should be that person. And so keep going. Yeah.
I do think a critical component that has gone missing is maybe it is billboards also, but as in general, it's raising awareness that things exist even. I live way up in Centennial Hills, so if I were to walk down the street and ask every single person I would run into anything about startups, and they'd be like, I don't know. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
But if I said, what do you think of the A's coming here? I hate that. They would know what I'm talking about at least. But there's zero engagement. And so I have a whole plan with that I've talked to Tyler about as well. It's not a big secret. I call it FACE. It's putting a face on it. The focus attention calendars for everyone. It's a way to align the way we announce and publicize things so that they kind of gang up and so that other news organizations will know where to look and when. And it will coordinate with some events and other events will, so I have this whole thing. I have a nice presentation about it. And that was actually inspired by the way downtown was doing their different weeks that correlated with investment focus. Mm-hmm. So these are more attention focused, but similar idea. So Tyler and I have had this conversation and he thinks it sounds cool. So we'll see. I have to show, don't tell. So I've only told. I have to get it going. But so the implementation
you have to tell a little bit, right?
Yeah,
you want to build some get people amped up, right? So I think it's definitely like show and tell.
Sure. Well, but you can tell a lot, but eventually everybody's going to say, "So are you going to start working on this?" And you're like, "Oh, I thought we were working on it." But if I want it to happen, I cannot wait on people that I have told. So Tyler is very supportive. True. He's like, "Oh yeah, I like that idea. Let's schedule some time to meet." So that's cool. But I think having some, and that's what hackathons are for, right? You actually advance your cause a little bit. Sometimes it's a dry erase board. Sometimes you can build something and you have something to show at the end of 2 days or 5 days or however long you're doing your sprint. Mm-hmm. I tell people this all the time. Now we're going to inside baseball, but we had a hackathon at Intel for EastPack. backpack company. They had no engineering. They have only backpack designers. So we had a 5-day. So first day, meet and greet. They brought equipment. They brought their marketing people. So at the end of the 5 days, 3 days of sprint. On the 5th day, it was the presentations on Friday. So by Thursday, we got marketing, we got messaging, we got a prototype of sorts that was kind of ugly, but it worked. It just had wires and stuff sticking out. So by day 5, the CEO said, infamously, I feel like this was like 3 years of work in 3 days. And he was basically right, basically. So we need to have people that are excited enough to do that stuff to show other people what's possible, and then other people will come next time and so on. So I think it's a snowball effect, and right now it's just me. But luckily, I work 24 hours a day, and then I work at night. Thank you, Debt Left Channel.
Hardest working man in Las Vegas right there.
Something like that. And if you don't mind another reference to the Change Bank, Dan, how do you make money by doing this? And the answer is simple. Volume.
Like compounding.
I just spend more and more time, and eventually I make it up in volume. Yeah, the setup is rough on that one, but no, I have
to workshop that one.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it on stage next Wednesday if I can.
Got it.
I think the if we were gonna kind of wrap things up here, because I know you had other stuff to do. I strangely also have other things to do. You described basically what we want to get to, which is people kind of going, oh, you're working on stuff, I'm working on stuff.
Yeah,
we can work on stuff and kind of amplify this effort, and just like going to the gym or doing a lot of things that benefit from, oh, you're doing it, I'm doing it, let's give me a spot, or I have an idea, what do you think of this, these. And I used to do this in a coffee shop in Sunnyvale when I lived in the Bay Area. It was on Murphy, if you're around Sunnyvale. You'd have the same people would intersect for about an hour, before or after when they're there. So during that time, like, hey, how's the thing you're working on? And you show a little demo and you have a little feedback. So these are the sorts of bursts of progress and feedback, and a little dopamine hit probably, and like a little validation. These are the sorts of things that keep people going and energize, and possibly feedback. If you want your poles on the right side of the plane for infinite undamped explosion, if you're an engineer, root locus, thank you. So, but you want people to feel like what they're doing is worth doing, and other people getting excited about what you're excited about, I think kind of has that effect. So it's an uphill. We're pushing that, like you said, it's a Sisyphean task, to be sure. But
yeah, I think you'll see it like start to pay off in little ways, and it's just a matter of, can you double down on the things that are working and forget the things that aren't working, like kill the things that aren't working really quickly, and triple down on the things that are working. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm excited about the Startup Resource Center. We're getting a lot of positive response and some early traction even, which is interesting. So that'll be cool, and that just fits into the bigger picture too. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is part 1, if you like, and we'll follow up on part 2 with what your plans are for enabling Vegas from Los Angeles, or visits. And I will tell you about Bring Your Own Water. Maybe that'll be interesting to you. There's a lot. Hey, maybe you want to be an advisor on the Startup Resource Center board. That could be something.
Definitely.
You don't have to live here.
I want to stay plugged in. Like I hang out with my like friends and stuff when I come back, and I go to all the places. But yeah, I haven't really been as plugged into the tech scene there as much. But like I want to be. I wish there was like some way for me to be a part of it. So happy to help out and get involved.
All right, I'll send you over an agreement. Right now, I'm just kidding. And this is again another reason for the retrospective, is that there are people that might actually be interested in what's going on and may just need that little like, oh, I really haven't kept up on. I'm curious, and that I had that discussion with Amy Groth, saying, she was like, you know what, I'm amazed it took this long, but I would be interested in just knowing what's going on and reflecting on the past and then what's going on today. Yeah, so it as a project itself, and then the results of it, and then the current state of affairs, I think all will be an interesting tale for those interested, and that's what we're going to do. So
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
all right. So don't go anywhere after I end this, because then I'm going to tell Dylan the secret. And then, no, you listener, you can go. But Dylan and I are going to have a little chat. So thank you so much, Dylan, for giving me your time today, giving Vegas your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, and thanks Las Vegas.
All right. We'll see you when you get here next time.
All right.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.